In technology, the wearable category is exploding. One example, these new smartwatches.
While wearables are cool, they could serve a much more meaningful purpose.
Here to compute this, Thor Schrock. Good to see you, Thor.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
So I like how this came about because you were inspired by this, something that happened to your dad. What happened?
Yeah, well, my dad suffered a slow motion fall from a chair, and he hit his head on the wall. So a slow motion fall is different than if you're standing and you fall over. Just about every fall detection system is going to detect that you hit the floor. But when you slide out of a chair, there's no sudden acceleration and deceleration. But when he went down, he kind of went down kind of twisting sideways, and he hit his head on the wall. So when he hit his head on the wall, he knocked himself out, and then he fell on his arms, and he laid there for 24 hours. When he came to, he couldn't move his arms, he couldn't roll over, he couldn't get up. So he literally laid on the floor for 24 hours.
This happened in March.
Yep.
We have a picture right after this happened, and he was admitted. How's he doing today?
Actually, it's been miraculous. We've had a lot of people praying for us, and a lot of people, pulling together to help him and send him well wishes. And he had a 33% chance of surviving the initial fall. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is when you're over the age of 65 and you fall, after the first hour on the floor, your muscles, it's almost cartoonish. They start rapidly breaking down. And we're talking rapid, like he was on the floor for 24 hours. He lost at least half of his body's muscle mass in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So imagine how you would feel if you woke up one morning and half of your muscle were gone. You couldn't sit up in bed. You couldn't stand up. You couldn't take a spoon to your mouth. You couldn't drink from a cup. And I've got some video of some of that stuff, and we're going to be releasing that on the Allen Band Facebook page. But the bottom line is he's in Hillcrest Rehabilitation. They're doing amazing things with him right now, and he's getting a lot of his capabilities back. But we had a family meeting, and from this point forward, he's going to need to have 24/7 supervision at home. And that's different than it was before.
Well, fortunately, you got to him. He's getting the care he needs now. But through this, you were talking about the Allen Band, right?
Yes.
What is this? How do you expect to take this further?
All right, so while I was in the hospital with my dad, I'm sitting there playing the what if game. I found him, and it was 24 hours, and I had seen him 2 days before that. My sister had visited with him yesterday, or the day before, so, it wasn't like he'd been unattended for a long period of time, and I'm like, how could I have found him faster? What if he would have had one of those life alert things or something? Would that have helped? Wouldn't have helped in this case. It wouldn't have detected the fall, and everything on all the current systems is predicated on you pressing a button. He wouldn't have been able to press a button.
He couldn't.
He couldn't. His arms were
he
pinned.
was in.
His teeth, he smashed his mouth on the wall, so he was bleeding from his mouth. His tongue was swollen. His lips were cut. He couldn't talk. So how does a person in that state get help? We all have little smart watches. If you have a Fitbit or something, you count your steps, you're doing great. But if it can count motion, it can also count lack of motion. And no one's thought of that yet. So I'm like, what if we had an inactivity monitor where it's unusual that he hasn't gotten up in the last 4 hours to go to the bathroom? Maybe it buzzes and asks him, are you okay? And if he presses the I'm okay button, that's okay, he's watching a great movie or something, or he just doesn't have to pee. Got it. If he's not okay, or if he says I'm not okay, or he doesn't press a button, then it can call for help.
It alerts somebody.
But here's the problem. When I talked about this on my radio show, I asked a lot of my listeners, do you have Life Alert? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And the overwhelming response I got was people would love to have a Life Alert, but man, the monitoring is $41.95 a month.
It's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, and if you get Life Alert and you're 60 and you have it till you're 75, you're going to spend $8,000 or $9,000 in monitoring.
So how does your band work, this whole idea? And he's just now at this point where you can invest in it, and it's kind of exciting, the route you're
different.
taking.
It's a whole different way of doing a project than anything we've done tablets, we've built things before, but nothing where we've looked at crowdfunding. So the big advantage of the Allen Band is there's no monitoring cost. It's free monitoring for life. And everyone looks at us like, you're crazy. How could you do that? And that's why I can't go to the SBA and say, give me a loan to do this the old way, because the SBA would look at me and say, you're not going to make a lot of money. So why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense. Well, I'm not trying to make a ton of money with this. I'm trying to save people's lives with this. And it almost, I feel weird even saying that because, you're like, I'm trying to save people's lives, But really, if I would have found my dad in 4 hours instead of 24 hours, it would have been a whole different recovery. Yeah. And so what we try to do here with the Allen Band is it's going to be monitored by a computer, by a cloud server. And when you have an event or you need help, instead of calling some nameless, faceless call center that doesn't know you from Adam, people, your relatives, your family get text messages or emails or alerts on their apps on their phones. If you don't have family, maybe you have a neighbor and you could monitor each other. So somebody will know that you're down and you need help, even if you are unconscious and don't know to send an alert.
Yeah,
So
if your
important.
dad would have had something like that, you would have gotten a text message within, you know, 30
Within a few
minutes to an
hours.
hour or whatever
Yeah.
it was that would alert you. You'd be able to get over there and help them out earlier.
So-
So how can our viewers help in this?
Okay, this is where it gets different. We've never done anything like this before. We need to raise $22,800 roughly. The number bounces around a little bit as we talk to the factory, but it's going to be between $22,000 and $23,000 that we need to raise to develop the prototype, the actual device itself from the factory. Now, rather than trying to fund this like a normal project, because we can't get our lenders to give us money for this because they're saying, well, if you were going to charge $41.95 a month for it, we see the model there. But if you're just basically making a product that's going to be, subsist, then, sorry, Thor, you're a great guy, but, when you have another tablet, come see us, So what we want to do is we want to use crowdfunding, and we're going to use a website called Kickstarter to do this. But here's how Kickstarter works. When you back a project, you're called a backer when you do Kickstarter. So you're not an investor. It's not like in the typical thought of investing where you give money for a share of the company, that kind of thing. When you're a backer, you're saying, that's a good idea. There's a whole bunch of rewards you can get at different levels, anywhere from $10 all the way up to $1,000 that you can back a project. When you back a project, though, you become involved with the project. You're on the development team. You have the same access that I do to everything. So instead of me and my, 5-person team of engineers working on a device, we're going to have our 5-person team of engineers plus however many hundreds and hundreds of backers we have that will be able to give us feedback and get in the loop. And on one hand, it's an incredibly powerful tool. So right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to get as many people as possible to go to the Allen Band Facebook page at facebook.com/theallenband, TheAllen band, The Allen Band. If you type in ALAN band, you'll get like a band,
Like
and
a music
that's
group,
not it.
right?
That's not us.
Or listen, we posted it on the Morning Blend page. I've got it on Mary Nelson, the Morning Blend, if you'd rather go that route to find it. Here's what the page looks like, so you're in the right spot once you get there. And so from there, you'll just keep everyone apprised as to Kickstarter.
So we're not launching the Kickstarter yet because with Kickstarter, the big important thing is the first day that you launch, you have to have as many people back the project as possible. What that does is it catapults it to potentially to the front page of Kickstarter, and then everyone around the world can see it and back the project. So we're not asking for money, we're not asking for support. We're asking questions about the development. But just check it out at the Facebook page and like the page. That's the best thing you can do to help us right now.
That's a
Yeah, it's an
valuable
exciting
idea.
concept, yeah.
Yeah, I know we both look at it and think.
It's really different. The
special.
crowdfunding is so different. It's fun, but it's way different.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thor.
Thanks, Thor.
We appreciate